Howdy and welcome everybody to Conscious Embodiment, Astrology and Dreams with Dr. Michael Lennox. It is I, your host, Dr. Michael Lennox.
And I, your producer, Zoe.
Hey, Zoe. You know, I am so delighted to be in the Aries mansion. And I love Pisces energy. I love the connectedness of it, the spiritual sensibilities that we get to dive in. But man, the last month with the sun in Pisces and all of the inner work that's still going on, I'm sort of grateful to have a bit of a shift. So let's talk a little bit about the shift that is really just getting underway because the equinox was yesterday.
Oh, right. Yesterday was the equinox.
It was indeed. So we are at one of the most powerful moments in the astrological year. This is the birth canal of the zodiac because Pisces is the 12th sign, the last sign, and Aries is the first sign. So that point between 30th degree of Pisces and the 0 degree of Aries is also what we call the birth canal, the alpha omega, where we go from undifferentiated form, everything is possible because it doesn't exist yet, that's a Pisces consciousness, into the full-on I am that Aries shouts when he dives in. My fun little way of describing this from like a storytelling perspective is that Pisces is the void, that empty space out of which anything and everything else can come. And you can imagine that in Pisces, in this void, all 12 of the archetypes of the zodiac are hanging out. Only it's dark and it's void and there's nobody who knows anything about what that means except for Pisces, who's sitting there going, woohoo, I contain the seeds of every possibility. But something stirs in that consciousness. Now remember, kids, this stirs in all of you, too. You have an undifferentiated place inside you where nothing exists yet, but through which everything can exist. And there's a little part of you that stirs in the void that says, I'll go. I'll jump.
Yeah.
I'll take that risk. Because keep in mind, it's a big energetic risk because the void really is empty from our perspective. And so to dive in is to face what's on the other side of that void. And Aries is the only energy that has this sort of crazy courage and lack of consequential, thought to say, I'll dive first.
I feel like I'm you right now because I'm feeling extremely emotional hearing
Oh,
this.
wow. I love that, Zoe.
I just got like super triggered, not in a scary way, but like that just really hit me emotionally. I feel like this past week leading up to the equinox, we were talking about how it's time to put all of these changes that we've been discovering in the last 2 months into practice. And I feel
into behavior, into action. That's
into
right.
action. This past week leading up to the equinox, my puzzle pieces have been slowly coming together.
Oh,
And I feel so
I like this.
I feel just in the deepest level so in tune with what you're saying right now because
Beautiful.
things have just been coming from the inside of me where
Yes.
I'm like, what is that feeling? I'm feeling odd. Something's going on.
Yes.
And then I'm like, wait, I should pay attention to this.
That's right.
And I made choices that I think are a level up for me.
Oh, Zoe, you're making me so happy right now. I live for moments like this. Indeed. And so if I put it back to, the listening audience out there, what Zoe just described, I concur with. I have had inexplicable moments where I'm watching myself make new choices based on awarenesses that 4 months ago I didn't have yet.
I think it's really important to remind the listeners this can be little things. It's not like I started a new website this week.
That's right.
Or, you know what I mean? I
Uh-huh.
launched some big campaign.
Right,
These are
right.
like literally small choices coming from the inside of how you want to behave and interact with other human beings.
Absolutely. And this equinox into the Aries energy is about action. In fact, the whole Aries mansion is about putting into action any of these desires and impulses, big or small. Aries is what's called cardinal fire. So every sign is either going to be an element and or a modality. So the elements are fire, earth, air, and water. Fire, of course, is the element of action, movement, and getting things done, or certainly getting things started up, lighting shit on fire. But every sign is also one of three modalities. A modality implies a kind of movement or lack of movement. So cardinal energies are the startup energies. Fixed energies give us stability and non-movement so that we have some structure.
Mhm.
Mutable energies allow us to change and be fluid and have flexibility. So if you put together the two concepts of, or the two dignities, these are called dignities, of cardinal fire, Aries is like the most explosive energy that there is. And so it's a wonderful new mansion that we're in right now for the next 4 weeks, where our conscious awareness itself is aligned with starting things up, trying new directions out. And of course, because we've been through so much investigation over the last couple of months, it's a glorious moment to see actions you're now organically taking, big and small, that are fueled by or supported by having a greater emotional awareness of who you are at deeper and deeper levels. That's the benefit and beauty of all the work we have been putting in.
Mm.
So understand, for the next 4 weeks, we are more on fire than we've been in a while. And every other transit and full moon and new moon that takes place during the Aries mansion is going to support our efforts to take new actions, start new things up, and push our desires out into the world in a very significant way. So have at that for the next 4 weeks. Now, here's a little teaching I want to slip in there that actually has to do with the Pisces mansion, and something that's brewing there that's actually going to take another 4 weeks to sort of rise up into its fullness, but it's kind of stunning. And it connects to the new moon that kicked off the lunar cycle that we are in, because at that new moon, the sun, the moon, Jupiter, the planet of all manifestation, and Neptune, our access to our spiritual connection, we're all hanging out together in the sign of Pisces. So we're still in the lunar cycle where the intentions we set had the power and the influence, if you will, of Jupiter and Neptune together to receive them. So understand, again, I'm going to break this down in like pure visual math. The new moon carries our intentions. That new moon was 2 degrees away from Jupiter, the planet of manifestation. That means the intentions we set at the beginning of this lunar cycle dove right into Jupiter's capacity to say, you want that? I'll bring it and more. How about bigger and more enormous? Because that's what Jupiter does. And of course, he's so happy in Pisces. It's the sign he used to rule back before Neptune was discovered. Of course, Neptune was discovered and was put in charge of Pisces mansion because he is the planet designed to help us connect to that infinite field of creative possibility that Pisces invented. He's been hanging out there since 2011 and has a few more years to go. So this whole period of time is allowing the whole planet to deepen our spiritual connection at great sort of oomphy emphasis since around 2011. And something is happening in 4 weeks' time that is kind of once in our lifetimes in a way.
Mm.
Jupiter and Neptune are meeting up in the sign of Pisces, bringing together our capacity to manifest anything we should desire and the spiritual connection that sort of guarantees that we can create anything we desire as long as we are co-creating with spirit and understanding that we're not fully in charge of everything that happens, and that the excavating work we've been doing since November through the new moon that kicked off this lunar cycle has deepened our access to places in our unconscious that has helped us clear out blockages of undeserving and unworthiness. Such that as we move towards the next lunar cycle, which remember will be driven by the sun in Aries, that startup energy that has us in action and movement. What a beautiful lunar cycle in which to have the planet of manifestation and the planet of spiritual connection coming together in that second week in April, offering us a dive into so much potential for creating anything. While the Pisces mansion, in terms of us being consciously aligned with it by virtue of the sun being there, has drifted into our rearview mirror at this point, we are still vibing with this idea that we're moving toward a lunar cycle capable of helping us generate tremendous new possibilities that will carry us forward. Now, of course, we're weeks away before I'll be talking about this in full earnest, but I wanted to mention it today because it's sort of the next big wave of energy that starts in earnest when we hit the new moon in Aries next week. So we'll be talking lots about this in April.
What's the 411 on Venus?
Well, it's actually a big week. First of all, I just have to say that what you contributed at the top of the podcast about your personal experience is a Venus and Mars occurrence.
Oh, yeah.
Cut back to a bunch of months ago, and Venus has just been all over the underworld. We were in the below from late November through just a few weeks ago, courtesy of Venus in her retrograde cycle. Because she did this retrograding in the sign of Capricorn that invented like structures and how we set our lives up to be understood by us in solid, predictable patterns of emotional consciousness. I say emotional because we're talking about Venus, but Capricorn energy is about the structures. We're talking about the emotional structures in our psyche that before this retrograde were as they were, but after the retrograde have been completely altered and changed because we took this deep dive. The unprecedented astrological phenomenon that is just been giving me so much excitement and delight as someone who just is an astrology nerd is that Mars caught up with Venus, and because she was moving so slowly, they just hung out for like 6 weeks. Mars is our behavior planet. We choose through Mars. You were just talking about how your choices of late seem to be coming from a richer, deeper emotional awareness in you.
Yeah.
That's like I had you as a plant, Zoe. Like, hey, ask this question or say this thing because it's so ridiculously reflective of the astrology. But really, I couldn't have said it better myself than what you said at the top of the show. which is that we are all in this place where we might have been in the last few weeks. I know I was. I know you were surprised
Yeah.
by some of the new choices that we've been able to make that are, in fact, more vulnerable, a little more risky, and different and new because we have been doing the digging.
Mm.
This is the week that Venus and Mars begin to separate from their dance right next to each other. They start the week out like 3 degrees apart, and they finish the week out 5 degrees apart. That's because Venus moves much faster than Mars, only she'd been slowed down from her retrograde. Now that she's regaining her typical pace, she's saying, bye-bye, honey. Great meeting, lover of mine. I'm going to head off into new territory and leave you behind. In some ways, this does mean that the outrageous opportunity that the last few months has offered us is diminished. It's gone. But we are changed, so fear not, right? We are different as a result.
Okay.
So it might be like, oh, I mean, we're not going to get to make new decisions from better places? No. We are radically altered by virtue of their having come together and spent so much time together. And I'm just sort of pointing out that opportunity is diminishing, it's finishing, it's essentially going. But something that's happening at the beginning of this week is kind of a beautiful opportunity, although it might be generating a pretty unstabilized landscape these first couple of days of the week, because both Venus and Mars, as they separate, are going to square the planet that brings the sudden and unexpected, Uranus, the Great Awakener. Squares are conflict energies. Squares are not like, woohoo, let's have a nice, easy chill on the couch. Squares are more like,
Right.
ooh, didn't see that coming and my house fell off a cliff.
Right.
Venus squaring Uranus sets us up to have kind of intimacy experiences that are surprising and unexpected. Because it's conflict energy, this could be endings or beginnings. And again, just like you so aptly put earlier, we're not always talking about big things. Endings and beginnings don't have to be breakups or meeting the love of your life. It could be shifting a pattern or starting something new because the conflict has sort of risen up and you're like, okay, we got to approach love, intimacy, and vulnerability in a new way. And sometimes we do that work because something happens, knocks us on our ass, and we pick ourselves up and figure, okay, what did I just learn? That energy was over this past weekend of Venus squaring Uranus, and on Tuesday, Mars will follow up. So between yesterday and tomorrow, if you're listening to this podcast when it came out on Monday, you can be assured that something might be coming along, maybe from the outside, but also potentially from the inside of you as like new impulses to follow that change the dynamic completely. Don't be surprised if the first half of this week includes some pivots or reversals or changes in direction around something that is heartfelt to you. Definitely could be relational and intimacy oriented because that's been such a theme these last few months. But just understand this. We are changed in how we behave and decide because we know ourselves emotionally at a deeper level. And our first real testing of this is right now. Now, I'll throw in there that there's a little bit of a healing energy and movement energy today and Wednesday, right? So this first 3-4 days of this week are kind of juicy. The healing piece is Mars and Chiron in a sextile. The healing opportunity that's sandwiched into these very powerful, I'm just going to call it 4 days, yesterday through Wednesday of this week. The healing portion is the planet Mars, so actions, behaviors, choices, our physical body, and where we're putting the resource of our energy. And Chiron, the healer, in a 60-degree relationship, which means productivity and creativity is possible in a healing way if you put a little effort. Then on Wednesday, Mercury, the mind, is going to connect with Neptune, the great spirit, putting our thoughts more in touch with our higher nature. And a trine from Mercury to the North Node means anything that we're figuring out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday about what we want or desire in our hearts, or maybe because we're facing something got taken away that we didn't want to be, is absolutely a healing and forward moving no matter what the occurrence. So if something got added to you and you're delighted, it's a healing and forward moving. If something gets snatched away and it doesn't feel so good, it's still a healing and a forward moving experience. Not likely to be ginormous unless you're already in a big narrative where things are changing. And some of you are. I know that from my DMs and emails. But understand that there is something to be on the lookout for as this week sort of moves into the second part of the week, because the first half of the week features some anything can happen and probably will energy that, while it's unfolding in these first 4 days, might be confusing as all get out. But by the time we get to the end of the week, there might be some sense of, oh, wow, that was interesting. So be flexible and fluid and easy and not too much in a grip of trying to control that which you can't control, and understand that some interesting things are going to be revealed as we move through this week. So we might be kind of done with the unprecedented experience of choosing new stuff from a deeper emotional place that was happening when Mars and Venus were actually together. We are so not done with the profound healing experience that's necessary to follow up after a couple of lunar cycles of deep, deep diving as we've been through. And I can't wait to get into next week's podcast and talk about the new moon in Aries that hits on March 31st, because it is conjunct Chiron, the healer. And I mean exactly conjunct, which excites this particular astrologer. We are finishing up the lunar cycle that started with the new moon in Pisces. And when we meet next, we're going to be in full on Aries, fiery, startup energy, ready to set our intentions as if it were the new year, because from the astrological perspective, it is.
It is.
And the fact that that next new moon is conjunct Chiron means that if you're still in some emotional suffering and challenge, which again, I know a lot of you are because my DMs have been filled with your stories, we are not done with the healing, and we will take some of that beautiful healing energy that we move into next week, and that will help us as we move even deeper into the year ahead. So enjoy the energy of the equinox, which technically lasts like 3 full days. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Look for some unexpected things to be part of the first half of the week, and understand when we get into the next new moon, it's all about healing. Have at it.
All right, it's dream segment time. Every week, Dr. Michael will interpret dreams that are sent in via email or take a live caller. If you would like your dream interpreted on the podcast, you can go ahead and email us at dreams@michaellennox.com. Hopefully your dream will make it onto the show. This week we have a call-in dreamer. Maria's calling in. Hi, Maria. Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from the Netherlands in Leiden.
Ooh, I love that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love international callers.
I have a small little clientele in the Netherlands, so I'm not surprised. Delighted to hear from you.
Good.
Very cool. Maria, what you dreaming?
Okay, my dream is this one. This is a dream that I had recurrently for many, many times and for many, many years. That's why it's so important for me. In my dream, I'm fighting a beast. It's a big animal. Sometimes it's a big wolf, sometimes a reptile, a snake, or a kind of a crocodile of some kind, or a big cat. And the fight is very intense and is body to body. Now, in my dreams, I always manage somehow to get hold of the head of the beast and with my hands, with my bare hands, to open the mouth until I was breaking the jaw wide open. So it was not further a threat for me. That some 4 years ago, I went to a retreat. It was a meditation retreat, and they had also some tarot lessons or introduction. They were specifically using the Tarot of Marseille. And then I saw for the first time the card of number 11 of Arcana Majore is the force.
Or strength, yes.
Yes.
So funny because in the rider weight, the sort of standard, I don't know the Marseille deck you're talking about, but in the rider weight, the same card, the person on the card has the beast's mouth
Yes,
wide
exactly.
open. So keep going. I'm excited.
It's opening. And then when I saw it, the card for the very first time,
You must have flipped out.
yes, and I said, oh my God, that's my dream. That's exactly my
Yes.
dream. There was this woman, a noble woman, kind of, and she was very softly, apparently. It was soft compared to my dream, which was very potent. In my dream, there was a fight. So I saw it and I was just flabbergasted. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
Time later, I just looking at the tarot again, I realized I haven't had my dream anymore. And
Yes,
then
of
I
course
went
not.
back in
Yeah.
time. I went back in time and I realized that since that event, the dream stopped. But it was a dream that I had for many, many years.
Right. And so here's what's interesting about that, honey. If somebody comes to me with a nightmare, say that they don't want to have anymore, that's been recurring, and then we work on that image somehow in a kind of waking life interaction with the unconscious. If they're dreaming about, a lightning storm, I might say, draw it. Let's spend some time with that image. The dreams usually go away because when the unconscious is expressing something in a dream and we don't pay attention, it will just knock on the door again and again and again with the same dream. And then once we get the message, there's no need.
Can I say something here? Because the reason I went to that retreat
Uh-huh.
actually is because I wanted to start a path of reconnecting with my intuition.
Now, the strength card is not specifically about intuition per se, but an integration that's possible where we get so filled with a sense of our power and who we are, with an unequivocal, unshakable sense of I have strength. I know who I am empowered. That's the essence of the card's meaning. But if we add and bleed in some of the dream imagery of medicine, when I say medicine, it's like having a dream about an animal is introducing that dreamer to various levels of guidance that they get from the archetypal world through animal symbolism, which is always about our greater power, because our animal symbolism speaks to our instincts and pre-installed sources of engagement and ways of being in the world that's really powerful. And opening the mouth of every one of these animals in your dreams, I'm going to interpret as putting their power into your mouth, your voice.
Mm.
So when you say, I go to this retreat to become more engaged on my path as someone who can use their voice intuitively to help others in service, then you got the recognition of the incredible amount of power that's in your instrument. You rattled off just a handful of them: wolf, reptile, snake, big cats. You know, the wolf in you is about understanding cycles and the moon consciousness and the power of the pack and the feminine principle in action. Reptiles connect you to the base instincts of just being alive and in a body and knowing how to survive. Snake is about change and transformation. Big cats are about enormous amounts of personal power. Even the language you used, Maria, of body to body, this is a greater relationship to you and your medicine than just an idea, a thought. Your head might say, I have this power in me, but your dream state has been telling you, get this in your body, embody this. And that's the essence of the strength card. We look to embody all we know and all our wisdom and all our power. And when the strength card comes up in a tarot reading, we know that the person whose the reading is for is stepping into their power much more powerfully and fully.
Oh my God.
And the fact that the dream went away is evidence of that.
It is so intense what you're saying.
I love it.
It's really intense. And I can tell you one thing. I mean, because this is like 4 years ago. I'm feeling it in a certain way. Slowly,
Honey.
I'm embodying.
Listen, honey, I love that you're saying slowly, because one of the things that gets all of us into trouble is our impatience.
Mhm.
We will always be sort of downloaded a little bit with thoughts and feelings and visions about where we're going and where we're headed in our development. And our impatience can muck it all up, right? So that it's moving slowly, I'm pleased to hear. But I also want to just validate, honey, I think you have access to animal wisdom in a manner that might be even greater than you currently have experienced.
Maybe this is not related to the dream, but where can I get more to develop it?
Well, one thing I might encourage you to do, there's lots of online resources where you can find the sort of established universal symbolism associated with different animal totems. And when you meditate on these ideas, and again, I mean a literal meditation, sitting down in a chair, getting kind of quiet and relaxed, and picturing the wolf medicine with your meditative experience, or the reptile or the snake, I would find out what are the agreed upon universal symbolisms behind different animals, and then sit with them in meditation in a kind of deliberate way.
Thank you.
Does that make some sense? Yeah.
Yes, it makes sense.
What you guys out there can't see is that she's blowing me a kiss. We're actually seeing each other on video as we record this segment. So she gets it. I love it. And I send you mwah, a kiss back. What a beautiful and brilliant dream. Honey, this is a big deal.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I meditate every day. I have not meditated with my animals, but I will.
Do, honey. I think there's a vocabulary inside your psyche that's just waiting to explode. Look what's sitting on the wall to your left.
Yes, these are Dara horses.
See, right there tells me you and animals, everywhere we turn, you and animals, powerful,
Yes.
powerful, powerful.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Buenos. And thank you so.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
very
Maria. Thanks for coming.
I love this dream. Oh, my Lord, Zoe. Between the animal medicine all over the place and then the tarot card piece of imagery. But more importantly, I love this dream for the way her waking life intersected with her dream life in a profound way that changed her sort of trajectory. And then here we are 4 years later, by just touching back into the dream and giving her a little guidance that she, I assume, is going to take that guidance into her heart. We just helped her maybe start a new path in a direction to, wake up in an even greater way that her unconscious will speak to her through animal medicine. Love this dream.
Thank you for listening to Conscious Embodiment, Astrology and Dreams with Dr. Michael Lennox. You can find us on Apple Music, the iHeartRadio app, and anywhere you find your favorite shows. Head on over to michaellenix.com for information on astrology readings, the daily Astro Alert subscription, upcoming classes, and to join the mailing list.